We all dream about adventure bikes that can cross continents and handle anything you throw at them. But in 2026, the used adventure bike market is a trap-filled minefield. Some of the most popular ADV bikes on the road hide serious design flaws, known failure points, and repair costs that can quietly destroy your budget. They look capable, they look proven, but once you own them, they become heavy, unreliable, or painfully expensive to keep alive. A low asking price doesn't mean good value. It often means someone else already learned the hard lesson. That's why we built this list. The 12 worst adventure bikes to buy in 2026. Bikes with high-risk years, fatal engineering mistakes, and ownership nightmares you need to know before you hand over your money. If you care about your time, your wallet, and actually finishing your rides, stay with us. Number 12. Benelli TRK 502. Here's a hard truth some riders hate to hear. If an adventure bike weighs more than a BMW R1200GS GS and makes under 50 horsepower, it has already failed. The Benelli TRK 502 looks like a Ducati Multistrada or a BMW GS. It has the beak, the crash bars, and the big luggage. It looks substantial and expensive, but underneath the plastic, it is a disaster of engineering that fundamentally misunderstands what an adventure bike should be. It features a 500 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine, making 47 horsepower. On paper, that sounds acceptable for a beginner bike. But here is the problem. It weighs 518 pounds. That is heavier than a BMW R1250 GS, which has 3 times the power and twice the engine size. The power-to-weight ratio is abysmal. It is barely enough to merge onto a highway safely, and overtaking a truck requires a written invitation and a mile of clear road. The engine screams for mercy just to keep up with traffic, vibrating through the bars and pegs until your hands go numb. A brand new one costs $6,400, while used ones float between $4,000 to $5,000. It seems like a deal, but you are paying for weight, not performance. You might be tempted to skip the Italian heavyweight for a German badge, but sometimes the most prestigious logo hides the most disappointing experience. But you don't have to disappoint us, so hit the like button. Number 11, BMW G310 GS. You want the badge? We get it. You want to park a BMW in front of the coffee shop and tell people you own a GS. But the G310 GS is the weakest link in the Bavarian chain. It is built in India by TVS, which isn't the problem. The problem is that it vibrates like a paint shaker and lacks the refinement that the badge promises. It uses a 313 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine, making 34 horsepower. Because it is a small single trying to move a full-sized adventure chassis, it has to be revved to the moon to get anywhere. At 70 miles per hour, it is screaming at 7,000 RPM, buzzing violently and making long-distance touring a test of endurance rather than enjoyment. It feels strained, stressed, and unhappy at American highway speeds. A new model costs $5,695, and used examples range from $3,500 to $4,500. You are paying for the blue and white propeller, not for a capable adventure machine. While the BMW is too small and buzzy, our next entry is the opposite. It is big, heavy, and refuses to die. But it also refuses to be fun or modern in any way. Number 10, Kawasaki KLR 650. The KLR is a legend. It has survived wars and ridden around the world. But the new Generation 3 model released in 2022 is a profound disappointment. Kawasaki had the chance to revolutionize this bike, but instead they added fuel injection and ABS, forgot to add horsepower, and actually made it heavier. It features the ancient 652 cubic centimeter single-cylinder thumper. It makes roughly 40 horsepower. They don't even publish the number because it is embarrassing. It weighs 487 pounds. That is nearly 500 pounds for a bike that struggles to do 80 miles per hour. It is lethargic. It accelerates with the urgency of a tectonic plate. The fuel injection smoothed out the throttle, but it didn't add the punch this heavy beast desperately needs. Ergonomically, it is a tractor. The foot pegs are massive rubber blocks that get slippery in the mud. The handlebars are rubber-mounted to kill vibration, but they feel vague and squishy in your hands. The seat is a flat bench that feels like sitting on a bag of mulch after an hour. it is obsolete. For the same price, you can buy lighter, faster, and more capable bikes. The infamous doohickey issue is supposedly fixed, but the bike now burns oil at high RPMs because the piston rings can't handle highway speeds. It is a dinosaur that refuses to evolve. A new one runs $6,899, with used models sitting between $5,000 to $6,000. It is reliable, yes, but it is also exceptionally boring and heavy. So we're curious, what is the worst motorcycle you've ever owned? Let us know in the comments. The KLR is heavy, but at least it doesn't snap in half. Our next bike has a chassis failure rate that is genuinely terrifying for anyone who plans to ride off-road. Number 9. Royal Enfield Himalayan 411. Do not confuse this with the new liquid-cooled 450, which is fantastic. We are talking about the original air-cooled Himalayan 411. While it has a cult following of people who love its simplicity, we have to be honest. It is barely a motorcycle. It is a piece of agricultural equipment that barely functions at modern speeds. It uses a 411 cubic centimeter air-cooled single making 24 horsepower. 24. That is less than most 250cc dirt bikes. It tops out at 75 miles per hour going downhill with a tailwind. It weighs 199 kilograms. It is incredibly heavy for such a weak engine. Overtaking is impossible. Merging is a prayer. It has been discontinued, but used ones flood the market for $2,500 to $3,500. Do not be tempted by the low price unless you enjoy welding frames in your garage. The Himalayan is slow, but our next bike has plenty of power. The problem is that the engine feels like it is tearing itself apart from the inside every time you accelerate. Number 8. Suzuki V-Strom 1000. The Suzuki V-Strom is usually the king of reliability. But the first generation of the Big 1000, made from 2002 to 2012, has some serious skeletons in the closet that Suzuki fans try to ignore. It uses a 996 cubic centimeter V, twin derived from the TL 1000 sport bike. It makes 98 horsepower. The engine is great on paper, but the package around it is flawed. This bike is the king of buffeting. The aerodynamics are terrible. The wind noise at highway speeds creates a booming resonance inside your helmet that can cause hearing damage. Riders spend hundreds of dollars on aftermarket screens and brackets trying to fix it, often with little success. These are cheap, selling for $3,000 to $4,500. But by the time you fix the clutch and the aerodynamics, you could have bought a better bike. If an adventure bike struggles to merge safely on the highway, it has no business calling itself adventure. Like this video if you agree. The Suzuki shakes, but at least it isn't a boat. Our next bike is so top-heavy and thirsty that it feels less like a motorcycle and more like a capsized oil tanker. Number 7. Honda Varadero XL1000V. Before the Africa Twin returned to save us, Honda gave us the Varadero. It was their attempt at a giant touring adventure bike, but they forgot to check the weight or the fuel consumption. It is known affectionately as the Varaporco because of its immense girth. It features a 996 cubic centimeter V-twin from the Firestorm sport bike. It makes 93 horsepower. It has a 5-speed gearbox on early models that desperately needs a 6th gear for highway cruising. It buzzes at speed, making long-distance riding tiresome. Ergonomically, it is top-heavy. The 25-liter fuel tank sits high up. When it is full, the bike feels like it wants to tip over at every stop sign. The reach to the bars is long. The foot pegs are low, which is comfortable, but they drag in corners constantly, sparking off the pavement. It is thirsty. It drinks fuel like a muscle car. You will be lucky to get 35 miles per gallon. These sell for $3,000 to $4,000 used. It is a lot of metal for the money, but the fuel costs alone will bankrupt you. The Honda is heavy, but our next bike is a Frankenstein monster. It tries to mix American cruiser parts with sport bike geometry, and the result is a vibrating mess that cooks your legs. Number 6. Buell Ulysses XB12X. Eric Buell is a genius engineer, but this bike was a mistake. He tried to turn a sport bike into an adventure bike, and the result was the Ulysses, a weird vibrating machine that doesn't fit in anywhere. It uses a 1,203 cubic centimeter Harley-Davidson Sportster engine. It makes 103 horsepower. It is belt-driven, which is terrible for off-road because rocks can get trapped between the belt and pulley, snapping it instantly. If that happens on a trail, you are walking home because you can't just link a belt back together like a chain. Ergonomically, the seat is tall, 35 inches, but the wheelbase is short, so it feels twitchy and unstable. The worst part is the heat. The rear cylinder sits right between your legs, and the cooling fan sounds like a hairdryer screaming at you. It cooks your right thigh in traffic to the point of pain. These used to be expensive, but now sell for $3,500 to $5,000. It is a collector's item for weirdos, not a serious adventure bike. Quick pause. We are entering the danger zone. These next bikes have catastrophic engine failures and electrical gremlins that will bankrupt you. If you want to avoid mechanical heartbreak, make sure you subscribe right now. The Buell is weird, but our next bike is just ugly. It was designed by a legend, but it looks like a kitchen appliance and has a fuel tank that grows in size until it ruins the bike. Number 5. Ducati Multistrada 1000 DS. This is the ugly duckling, designed by Pierre Terblanche. The first Multistrada is widely considered one of the ugliest motorcycles ever made. The front fairing is split in two, and the top half moves with the handlebars, which looks bizarre and unsettling from the cockpit. It features a 992 cubic centimeter air-cooled L-twin. It makes 84 horsepower. It has a dry clutch that rattles like a bag of bolts. Some Ducati purists love the sound, but to everyone else, it sounds like the engine is broken. Ducati used a plastic fuel tank that reacts with ethanol and modern fuel. The tank absorbs moisture and swells up, deforming. It becomes impossible to unlatch or put back on once removed. It ripples and bubbles. Also, the valve service intervals are short and expensive. It is a maintenance nightmare wrapped in a questionable design. You can find them for $3,000 to $4,500, but the cost of fixing the tank and the valves will exceed the value of the bike. The Ducati is ugly, but our next bike is actually fantastic to ride. The problem is that it physically roasts you alive and tries to destroy its own engine with dust. Number 4. KTM 1190 Adventure. The KTM 1190 is an incredible performance machine, widely praised for its power. But as a used buy, it is a minefield because it has huge flaws that were only fixed in later models. It is a torture device in the summer. It uses a 1,195 cubic centimeter V-twin making 150 horsepower. It is insanely fast. It lifts the front wheel at 100 miles per hour. But the seat is firm and aggressive, not built for comfort. The issue is the heat management. The rear header pipe snakes right under the rider's seat with almost no insulation. It roasts you. The heat coming off the engine is intense. It boils the fuel in the tank. It burns your inner thighs. KTM eventually added insulated covers, but it barely helps. You arrive at your destination sweaty and miserable. Also, the stock airbox seals were faulty from the factory. They let dust bypass the filter and go directly into the engine, destroying the piston rings and cylinder walls. If you buy one without checking the airbox, you might be buying a dead engine. These sell for $7,000 to $9,000. It tempts you with horsepower, but it punishes you with heat and potential engine death. We are entering the danger zone. The top 3 are not just bad, they are catastrophic. We have an Italian legend that literally grinds its own engine into metal shavings. We have a high-tech tourer that leaves you stranded with phantom electrical failures that no mechanic can fix. And the number 1 spot, it is the most popular bike in the world, but it hides a braking system that can fail without warning at highway speeds. Get ready. Number 3, Moto Guzzi Stelvio 1200. We love Italian style, and the Moto Guzzi Stelvio looks the part. It is big, brash, and unique. But the early models are mechanical time bombs waiting to go off. Named after the famous pass, it often fails to reach the top. It features a 1,151 cubic centimeter transverse V-twin. It makes 105 horsepower. It has a massive 32-liter fuel tank on the NTX models, making it extremely heavy when full. It is wide. The cylinders stick out and hit your knees if you are tall. The handlebars are ultra-wide. It feels like riding a tractor. The fatal flaw is the flat tappets. The early quattro valvole engines had a fatal design error in the valve train. The camshafts and tappets were made of soft metal that would destroy themselves, sending metal shavings through the oil and ruining the engine. It costs thousands to fix. If the bike hasn't been rollerized, do not buy it. It is worthless. You see these for $4,000 to $6,000. They are cheap because the owners know the engine is doomed. I have another question for you. Do you trust Italian electronics, or do you stick to Japanese reliability? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The Guzzi destroys its valves, but our next bike destroys your sanity with electrical gremlins. It promised to be the smartest bike in the class, but it ended up being the glitchiest. Number 2, Aprilia Caponord 1200. This bike promised to be the high-tech alternative to the Ducati Multistrada. It features Aprilia dynamic damping, which was revolutionary suspension technology. It was supposed to adjust itself perfectly to the road, until it broke. It uses a 1,197 cubic centimeter V twin making 125 horsepower. It sounds incredible. Ergonomically, it is comfortable, with a plush seat and good wind protection. But the dashboard is hard to read in sunlight, and the switchgear feels cheap and flimsy. The flaw is electronic gremlins. The dashboard fails, going blank while riding. The suspension sensors fail, locking the suspension in a rigid setting. The fuel gauge sends false readings, leaving you stranded with an empty tank. The bike will randomly go into limp mode for no apparent reason. Parts availability is terrible. You will wait months for a replacement sensor from Italy while your bike gathers dust in the garage. These sell for $5,000 to $7,000. It is a lot of bike for the money, but only if it actually works. And finally, the number 1 worst adventure bike to pick. It is the most popular bike in the world, but this specific era has a brake system that is dangerous and expensive. Number 1, BMW R1200GS. The GS is the king. It defines the genre. But the early R1200 models have a braking system that is universally hated by mechanics and riders alike. We are talking about the servo-assisted ABS brakes. It uses a 1,170 cubic centimeter boxer twin, making 98 horsepower. It is lighter than the 1150 it replaced. The ergonomics are legendary, perfect for long days in the saddle. But the braking feel is robotic. When you pull the lever, you aren't pushing fluid. You are activating a whining electric pump that applies the brakes for you. It feels digital, not analog. It is jerky at low speeds. The flaw is the servo unit fails. When it dies, you lose your power brakes. You are left with residual braking, which basically means no brakes. Imagine coming into a corner at 60 miles per hour and suddenly having to squeeze the lever with both hands just to slow down a little bit. A replacement unit costs over $2,000. Removing the system is complicated and devalues the bike. Buying a used one is a gamble that risks your life. Avoid these years and buy a model without the servos. These sell for $4,000 to $6,000. They are the cheapest way to get a 1200 GS, and now you know why. Want to continue the ride? Click this video right here. We reveal the unkillable legends that will get you home every time. And before you go, kindly click that like button, subscribe, and ride safe. Vroom, vroom.